since we discovered that.
All right. Update. Getting some welding in here. And so far, so good. Essentially, checked my measurements here to confirm we're in the specs, body specs by Fisher, and got this side welded in through all the structural parts for the most part. So, put some heavy welds in here because, as my buddy was saying, I wanted to go all factory spot welds for the most part. You can see I accomplished a lot of spots, but ultimately this is Milwaukee, and Milwaukee potholes, I mean, people park their cars in smaller spaces than our potholes. So at the end of the day, I did decide to go a little over welding versus what the factory did, but these cars didn't survive in Milwaukee, so there you go. As you see, we got the inner frame rail pretty well prepped up, ready to do my plug welds. I'll do some butt welding or edge welding, essentially getting that going, and then you have to suck this tail pan up and in, get the back good to go. But again, everything's measuring out. If anything, my frame rail is a little bit low on this side, maybe 1/4 inch to 1/8 inch versus factory specs, but the other side measures out perfectly. So again, so far so good. We're going to keep updating this project and get the legendary 69 Camaro back on the road. Live the 69 Camaro lifestyle, I guess. I don't know what the hell you call it. But anyway, so far so good. The welding has been going good here. This is an area that has a lot of meat to weld into, essentially, where the frame, rail, trunk, and floor all meet. And that area was actually rotted out pretty good. The metal was pretty thin. Here's the other side. Essentially, you can see here, this was the very top plate of the floor, which had thin spots, rust. So that got cut out. Both sides were fairly similar. And you've got your seatbelt reinforcement plate. You've got essentially the floor above it, and then you've got a thick plate in the trunk there that is obviously brand new. And then of course you have brand new frame rails that I have in place. So the point is, I'm going to cut some nice plug welds in there, burn those in really nice, put my other plate over the top, butt weld that in, and plug weld it in real nice, then put a third layer that really wasn't there. That will just add extra metal and allow me to fill it out and weld it in really nice and tight. So there you have it. That's our layers. And then of course our back of our seats. We got some repairs that I'm going to do in here. Obviously there's some rust. It's going to have to be addressed. But all in all, this car never going to be rust free. But the rails and the trunk were the worst of it. This floor had a little work, but all in all, the floor and the footwells, footboards, cowl, inner rockers, the outer rockers, I've put a big patch panel here and got some finishing work to do, but all in all, fairly solid. They did have these holes here where they had the trim mounted, where it's a spot where a lot of the rust starts, and it's going to be treated real well from the inside as best you can and out. But wheel inner rocker and rocker is still salvageable. It has to be cleaned up. But what you see that's really rotted is the parts of the wheelhouse that are coming out. So all in all, this Midwest rust bucket is salvageable. This was an Indiana car. I don't know about if it would have survived in Chicago or Milwaukee, but all in all, this is where we're at in the project. It's a big project to wrap your head around, but like I said, gain the skills as you go. give up on a few cars and you find the one that you're gonna see through, and this is hopefully the one for me. So here we go.